Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us today. Dave Miller here. I'm the president here at eMAM, and I have with me Chuck Bulow. He's our VP Business Development, and Emily Neal, who manages our marketing. And we're very excited to share some of the great options we have for collaborative production with our eMAM system and with our technology partners. We're going to record today's session. If you have any questions, please put them in the question box. And if you want a copy of these slides, let us know. But we're going to run over a few slides and then show you live how this all works and some of the multiple options you have for working together to create media. So let me turn it over to Chuck Bulow, who's going to present. He's our VP Business Development. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, Dave. So what I'm going to do is go through just a couple of slides to kind of set the context of the presentation today, and then we'll go into a demo. And when we do the demo here, we're going to switch over to Emily's system also to show some editing and After Effects and various things over on her side as well. But wanted to first go through a couple of things, which is the platform itself, eMAM, and then how we then interact with the different editors and so on, edit systems and so on. Now, the deployment of eMAM, first off, as a media asset management system with a database and storage and connected to servers and ingest profiles, and of course NLE systems and LTO libraries. The way you have your system set up and where that storage is, and then also where your editors are, remote editors or users, determines how you then interact with the eMAM system. So the nice thing about our system is that we can do on-premise, cloud, and hybrid in various forms and fashions, and be able to then make available proxies and media, not only on local storage, multiple locations, and then of course also cloud storage as well. And then of course LTO library systems for restore and archiving and things like that. So this setup here that we have on this diagram here, this is mainly an eMAM system. Pretty typical of having just an on-prem system, local users and so on, and then setting up firewalls with the folks kind of logging in with their credentials through the firewall and then getting access to the media. Also having the ability to kind of do load balancing and proxy creation. And in some cases where external folks are actually logging in, they can actually log in and just see the proxies on the outside, view the media, view the metadata, and so on. So we have setups and configurations where outside users can, instead of getting all the way into your network and so on, they could actually work outside of the eMAM system and then view proxies and metadata and search and so on. But also manage deliveries and various things, but we can get into details with you at a later time. We also have, of course, cloud systems. We do have a number of clients who are actually running everything in the cloud. So all the media is run in the cloud, storage, managing the database, edge servers as well, different types of storage up there. So you have like S3 bucket storage. Typically you can't edit right off S3 storage, but we can talk about streaming there as well. You've got others, which is flexible FSX and others, where you can actually physically edit off those, and then have also workstations in the cloud as well. Also, of course, workstations that are remote, and then people uploading, downloading media, and then also working projects and sharing projects and so on. And then, of course, we also have a hybrid mode. And in this case here, where you have a cloud-based setup with the database, web streaming and so on, but you could also have the original content local. And so we get a lot of people to do this where they'll have the local system encode or do live encoding and things like that into the eMAM system, and then put a proxy and the metadata up in the cloud, and then have remote users attached to the proxy files. But then if they do have permissions to be able to then access that local storage as well, there are ways in which you can kind of manage users accessing original content, and then be able to linked with that original content. So again, the most important thing is working with you and your system integrator and us. We can work with you on the different configurations of eMAM, and then what suits best, for your situation with the different remote users, and then how they're configured and set up, and then where the storage is. Now, we are a multi-platform for PAM, so able to work with Avid, with the Adobe Suite, DaVinci, and so on. And then at some time down the road, Cutting Room, which is a cloud-based editor as well. But for the most part, we're going to focus on Adobe today, and then we'll show you the Avid interface and the DaVinci interface as well, being able to access content through panels, and through panels through DaVinci, Adobe, and Avid right now, being able to then access content. And then project management is focused mainly on Adobe and DaVinci right now. Avid is kind of working. We do expect some updates and so on here shortly with their panel, and being able to then edit and possibly manage projects. We don't know yet, but we'll wait to see. Okay, so today's workflow, the way we have it is for today's demo, this is actually an all cloud-based system, and then 2 remote people. So I'm actually in North Carolina. Emily's actually in Las Vegas, and then we're both able to log into the system that's up in AWS. The original content stored in AWS, the proxies are in AWS as well. So that's kind of how we're going to work today. So in the case that we're going to go through, we've ingested the media all up into the cloud. And the process we're going to show today is a rough cut editor within the eMAM system, being able to then make some cuts, searching for media, using AI, using manual login, or not login, but in and out points for subclips, markers, and various things, doing review and approve, delivery, and then of course archive as well. Now, one thing I have to point out here is that there's 2 types of ways, or 2 different ways you can actually manage projects and media, or start out in this case. In this case here, we're uploading media directly to eMAM, and then having editors through the panel be able to access the media. You could also start locally in Adobe Premiere or DaVinci, and be able to then upload media through the panel with a project, with a sequence, through the panel up into eMAM, and then actually have those as new assets that come in, sequences as new assets as well. So either way, you can start out locally, import, create your project, maybe like in Adobe Premiere, do consolidation of all the cuts and so on, and then only upload what you're going to use. But again, in today's demo, we're going to upload the content directly to eMAM in the cloud, produce a rough cut. I'm going to create an eMAM project, and then I'm going to have Emily import that through Adobe Premiere, add some After Effects graphics, and then we're going to then send that back up to the eMAM system. On the color correction, audio correction, packaging, and things like that. So on audio side and say captions as well, we have workflows where we can separate out all the audio and then be able to send it over to Caption House. We can also send media over to say Audition or Pro Tools and others. There's also ways in which you can take media or sequences and then import those into DaVinci for color correction and so on, and then putting it back into the eMAM system as fully color corrected. We also have the ability to take any audio that's been corrected and any captions that have been correct or added, and then actually merge those in a delivery profile and package up the media using local transcoders or server-based transcoders or cloud-based transcoders to package that media and then deliver it in any type of platform that you need to. So that's kind of the workflow that we're going to do. Again, kind of going into the system here, we're using, I have a number of storage locations that I've been using for my demo system. It's got a bunch of stuff in it, but normally everything that you're going to see here, normally you would have it limited to different categories and different storage that you're using. but for my demos, I've had to have the others online and using them for the demo. But the idea is that we can set up the eMAM system all in the cloud. This one, like I said, is up in AWS. We're using S3 buckets in this demo, but I could use FSX storage. I could use Backblaze. I could use Wasabi. There's others out there that I could use and upload the content. We either have a web-based interface for users that are external, being able to upload the media, and then upload that media, add it to a category, assign it to a category, and so on. And then users can then, or producers, whoever, might be able to log into that content through the eMAM web interface, which is called Director. And then through that, they can find the content, see the organizational structure of the content, which we'll show you in what we call categories, and then be able to put rough cuts together and save it as an eMAM project. And then once that's done, this is what Emily's going to be doing. She's then going to check out that project through the panel, use Media Encoder and After Effects, and then actually convert that eMAM project into a Premiere project, and then have the After Effects graphic going in there as well. And then of course there's reviewing, doing review and approve. I can send out to users, be able to go ahead and review the content, add their comments and so on, and then be able to package up, or say accept or reject, add their comments, and then we just go ahead and produce that. There's a manual QC. There's also QC apps that we can send media to. We're doing one with a demo with, say, Vantage and Aurora, for example. I can send media there, have Aurora run its template, and then do the QC process, and then tell us if it's passed or failed. And then once it's done that, then we can then go ahead and then deliver. And of course, delivery out of eMAM can be in various formats and in various platforms with sidecar metadata and information, whatever is required at that point. Okay, so here we go. On the demo side, we'll go ahead and first off, look at logging into the eMAM system. And so everybody has credentials. Now I'm an admin, so you're going to see everything. Typically, you have editors or users. They will be limited to the user group settings that they're part of, and then being able to log into the system and only see what they're supposed to see, and then how what permissions they have to how to process that media. We do have an option for what we call business units. So you can take the one eMAM system, divide it up into individual units, and then those units can then have separate workflows, storage, metadata structure, branding, and so on. So, all right. Now, the very first thing that you see within the eMAM system, this is an interface that each user can design themselves. So most editors with Premiere or any of the different applications, they know this to be true, where they can actually just simply go out and use some of the different tools that are available to them, drag it out onto the interface, and then be able to go ahead and save that interface and then jump right to it based on kind of what they're doing in that case. So in here, what we're doing here is kind of designing the system, that layout, and that makes most sense to us. So what we've done for the demo here, we've created this travel agency. And so the idea is that we're going to upload that content, and the video that we have is like a tour of Italy and so on, and different things that go on there, and with graphics and so on. Now, the way eMAM works is that when you upload content, you can create categories and assign the media to those categories. And so the backend file structure is quite different, where there's maybe one or two folders that are house all of the original content and the proxies, but that has no play here. The users basically organize their content based on categories, and in those categories have different permission levels. So we'll go in and look for travel. There's the travel agency. So basically what we can do is we can go in and organize all of the content, all of our projects, all of our project files and so on, all based on this structure here. And then each one of these then has permissions as to what users can see and how they can process. But what we can do is limit those to the different user groups that are available in the system. And as an admin, I can assign these to the editors, but not others. And so we can actually leave them out and they wouldn't be able to even see this project, let's say in project 001 here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and look for project 003. There we go. And so what we did was we created this project, and in the project we have some media assigned here and so on. So we have this structure available to us. Now, to ingest the media, and again, this is the part where we were saying, instead of going through Premiere and then packaging up media and then uploading to eMAM, we're going to load the media first and then have the Premiere access that media through the panel, in this case here. Now, what I can do on the ingest is actually go in and actually select folders, and with those folders be able to then go in and say, with this folder, I'm going to go ahead and upload that folder, and then I'm going to have all these subfolders in here with all the different media that's associated with that. Now, when you do that on this upload here, this is then going to create those categories for me automatically. So I don't have to go in and actually create the categories. I could have my folder structure or camera card folder structure, and then have those categories automatically be created and added for me. So what you can do is go in and assign that. And in this case here, we're going to look for that project 003. And so there's the media that I'm looking for. And so now I've already preloaded this, so we don't have to watch paint dry with the stuff uploading. But typically what I would do is I would click here, and then those audio, graphics, and images categories wouldn't be there. And once I upload the media, those folders that I had with the media in it in my Finder will actually create these categories automatically for me. And so I would select that, and then I can go in and add tags to the media. And this is general information about the project. So, and again, these are custom fields that you can create and then have, say, pull down menus, dates, times, we'll add raw here. I can say date for creation for today, and then project name, all this kind of good stuff. I can add that all to the media that's going up into the eMAM system. And then again, also those categories will be created for me. And so those folders will be uploaded, and then all the media there will go and be uploaded as well. So I'll clear this because I've already uploaded the media to the system. So if I go in and look, then all of the audio is there, the graphics are there, images that I uploaded, just to kind of give you an example of what that media looks like. Okay, and so I can actually go in and then find all of that media, all based on, say, some search criteria. And so users are able to actually go in and create their own filters, and these could be public or private, that's up to them. And then they can go in and base it on any one of those metadata fields that are associated with the assets that are coming in. And so in this case here, I just chose project name. And so I can go in and search for this. And then this is all the media related to that project now. So I can actually go in and then find that content. Okay, so then and then also when I do click on it, just want to let you know here, I did add some metadata on the pre-uploaded content. So we can upload that, we can create packages, we can create information on rights management. We do also have the ability to build out workflows where I can click a button here and say send to Pro Tools or send a copy of media over to Audition, or run it through AI and things like that. So that's also possible. But again, this is all custom to you. So, all right. So what we'll do here is go in and do some logging of the media. And then of that media, then we can go in and then find, in fact, let me search for that content. We'll go ahead and choose that. And so I'm looking at the content here. And so the idea would be is that I have content, camera footage has come in. This also, by the way, could be a live feed as well. So we do have options for live feeds and so on. So I can actually go in and then start logging this and creating those clips. Now, the other thing that I want to do is I also want to create a project to start with. Now, this is a project file that is eMAM project, and I can create a sequence for rough cuts. I can also create bins. I can also create, you know, a rough cut sequence in here, and then that's what Emily's going to then import into the system here. Now, I can go in and add metadata to it and so on, but I've already started that project. So we'll go ahead and so basically what it is I just add that project. And by the way, I can also create a collection here as well. That is if you have a group of projects, After Effects, DaVinci Resolve, color correction, and so on, you want to put it in a collection, you can do that as well. So, all right. So what we're going to do here is go ahead and look for project 003, kind of narrow things down. So you can go in and search by the name. You also have search based on metadata for the project because you do have the ability. And by the way, we have metadata to the nth degree, assets, projects, subclips, markers, you know, so you name it, we can actually go in and add metadata. And again, all of that is searchable as well. But again, you can kind of go in with these projects and assign it to the editors, like assign it to Emily here so she can check that out. And then also to the different categories that are here. So this we assign to project 003. So it's now in the projects group. And by the way, one recommendation is that you create in your project files a media folder, main folder, and then underneath that will be the subfolders with all your media and the individual folders. And then also create a project sequence folder because that's where the projects and the sequences are going to be going up to into the eMAM system when we do the export. But we'll get into that a little bit. But it's just an idea that kind of helps you out in the organizational structure in this setup here. All right. So we have a project, we have the media here, and so within the player, of course, and let me turn the sound down, let me do that. I can watch this and just start typing in I for input. I can fast forward, I can pause, I can hit the out button, and I can hit the save button, okay? And so what I can do also then is go in and add another. So if I want in there, hit play, and then say fast forward, get right to here, go out and hit save. I can also go in and just hit marker. So if I do have the marker button here, we'll go ahead and add that. There we go, just so you see a marker. So I can add a marker there as well, and then save that. Now, any one of these, I can go in and give it a description. So I click on it here. With this, and then with that, we'll pause here real quick. With that, I can go in and then add a marker metadata if I'd like, and set that, and give it information, whatever I want. I can also go into the metadata for the subclipping as well. Save. For subclipping as well, I can do markers as well, or metadata for the subclips as well. Now, the nice thing about that is if I open up this sequence, so what I did was I pre-created this, but it's called, you know, just create a sequence here. And this is where I can go in and start making that rough cut. So I can go in, start watching, and hit I, and then fast forward, and O, and then I think it's the comma key. There we go. I can actually just start dropping right onto a timeline as well. And then that also gives me the ability to kind of start creating rough cuts all via keystroke and then be able to drop that right onto a rough cut timeline. Okay, so I'm not going to save that because I'm going to show you a couple of things else that we can do. All right, so I'm going to get rid of markers here and go to meeting. You're right in the way, so move that over. I'm going to close that out. Now, for these different markers, I'm going to clear all these because I want to show you another way of adding markers there as well. Okay, so with AI, we have the ability to go in and actually tag this media all based on AI. Now, in many cases, as you can see here, we support Microsoft, Google, Amazon, 12 Labs, DeepGram, various things where we can actually go in and start indexing that media with those services, which is outside of our licensing. It'll be a per usage charge. I can go in and use, say, 12 Labs. In this case here, it's their Pegasus model. So I can go, say, churches in Italy. And so what this will do is actually search in this media here all of the churches inside of that video. And it'll give me reference here. So let me do this. I'll shrink that down a little bit. And so I can actually then quickly go in and actually have the AI service for 12 Labs be able to provide that data for me. Now, in 12 Labs case, the information is actually up in their website. But what I can do here is I can actually go in and create a subclip of each one of these items that it pulled out and say, hey, you know what? I like these cuts all based on the AI service 12 Labs Pegasus. Okay, so what I can do then with that is go in now with these subclips and start dragging them onto that rough cut sequence. And so right now, all of this has done for me is the ability to kind of go in and quickly create highlights and then save this. And now I have a trim with just the different highlights. And you're not going to play for me, are you? During the demo. So normally I would have a preview here that would be able to play of that timeline. So now I've saved this timeline. And with that saved now, if I refresh and then look at this timeline here, you'll see now that asset is now tied to that particular project. And so these cuts and so on are now available in this rough cut sequence that I've now created. And again, you can kind of rearrange these if you'd like. You could save them. We also have a way in which you can actually stitch these together and then deliver them to a pre-designed profile as well for delivery. Okay, Emily, here's your warning. We're going to go ahead and switch over to you. So I've created this project. And by the way, this is an eMAM project right now. And through technology of this, I'm going to change presenters. And Emily, there you are. So I'm going to change presenters, and here you come.
All right.
Now, what Emily's going to do here is she has her Adobe Premiere open. And with Adobe Premiere, she's able to look through the panel and then see and look for that particular project. So project 003.
Okay.
There you go. And so now what you can do is select that project and then import it into her eMAM system. Now, before we go anywhere, this is what we're going to explain. So click on where it says mezzanine proxy. Now, so when I talked in the beginning, it was all about the relationship of where the original content is and where your editors are. So both Emily and I are remote. Okay, so obviously we can't connect directly to that media unless there's other options out there, Lucid Link and Teradici and various other ways in which you can do things. But in this case here, we're having to link remotely. And so with that, we can have an option to localize the mezzanine copy or the original copy. Okay, and what that'll do is it'll copy the media from the eMAM system in the cloud down to my local workstation, and then I can work and then put it back up into the eMAM system after I create a sequence, and then that sequence then is encoded by media encoder and then becomes a new asset. Now, linking, if I link it, it's actually linking to a local storage that I'm working from. Okay, so if I'm local and in the office and connected directly to that high-speed storage, I can actually link directly with the original content and work that way as well. There's also an option there at the end called Stream. Now, there's a company, Drastic Technologies, up in Vancouver, Canada, and they have a software media reactor that allows you to actually stream from an S3 bucket. Now I can stream the proxy, or I can stream the original. I also can do transcoding through this streaming process as well. I don't ask how it's done. It can be done. It's typically what it is a license that you would buy for each one of the users. They put it on their system, and then once the media is uploaded into the S3 bucket, they can stream it from there as well. All right, so Emily, let's go ahead and localize then the proxy media and so on. Now, with this media here is now downloading into her system. Now, there are settings inside the panel that you can describe where the media goes and where the project goes, okay? So the idea is that with that project, I can store it in a certain location. With the media, I can store it in a certain location. And then we have a temporary location called export. And that export then is used when we export back into the eMAM system as well. Okay, so Emily has the timeline here with all the cuts, all of the markers transfer over, all of the subclips transfer over from the media, and so on. And then if you go back to the eMAM panel for a second, if Emily needed to go and find other assets, she can either import via category. So if you click on the category structure, she can go in and search for media with a group of assets that are based on that organizational structure for that we created earlier. So if you click on project 003 and download, or click on that, and then the media. In the media now, these are all the files or the folders that were created. And this was created based on the upload that we did with that folder structure. So remember, when I uploaded or was showing you how to upload, the project 003 Tour of Italy media, that showed up, and then the subfolder showed up. She could click on that project 003, just click on that just for a second. And so she could then go in and hit the import button, and it would import and create bins with all of that media automatically inside of your project here within Adobe Premiere. And so the concept there is, it's best if you're going to upload everything into the eMAM system, of course, upload with the folder structure, that creates the categories. And then if you import the category with the subcategories, that automatically creates bins within your project file. So we won't worry about importing those. I just wanted to get that across. Emily, why don't you go ahead and go over to After Effects, and let's take a look at that. So Emily, what she's done is put together then a kind of an intro into our video that we're putting together here. So from our rough cut, Emily can go to Premiere and then start doing some cutting and animations and things like that. But now what she can do is also open up After Effects and then insert the opening graphic and so on for our video. So if she brings that in and brings in that comp and can link with it, and then from there, then she can go in and add that right to the timeline and do her thing. And there we go.
Great.
And so now we've got an opening with the video and the graphic and so on. So the idea is that with both After Effects, with Photoshop, with Premiere, and you have all these elements linked and tied, you can take and export both the Premiere project, After Effects, and Photoshop back up into the eMAM system. And then when you're going to take this project back down and start editing it, you may be editing After Effects, you may be editing Photoshop items and so on in there as well, or Illustrator. The idea is that you can then import back the project in both After Effects, Premiere, and Illustrator, Photoshop, whatever it might be. Okay, so now this is dynamically linked with this. Of course, you know, we can render out a sequence here and so on. She can go in and do more edits. She can go in, she can import local media. And when you bring in local media that you may have on your drive, when we export back this project back up into the eMAM system, it'll bring in those local media and add them as new assets and assign them to the project, assign them to the right categories inside the eMAM system, and it'll be ready for checkout next time. Okay, so the idea here again, we started as an eMAM project, we checked it out where nobody else can use it. We then had Emily go ahead and open up the sequence, made some edits, added the graphics here, possibly look for additional assets and so on. Click on the Assets tab just for a second. I wanted to show a couple other things real quick. Just click on, double click on the third one, which is Epic 7-Day Tour. Now, the editors within the panel while in Adobe Premiere could actually preview. You can go ahead and hit preview there. So, yep, it turns, yeah, there you go. So they could actually preview the media before they import it as well. So if they went in and did a search, Epic 7, found the asset, grabbed the asset and imported it, they could actually preview it before it goes in to their timeline or into their project or import it into a project. If you click on the metadata tab, that just shows metadata associated with the media, where it came from, who uploaded it, embedded metadata, custom metadata, and so on. That's all there as well. Click on history. So you can actually go in and see what history happened. So I uploaded the media, I assigned it to a category, added comments to it. So click on the comments tab. So any comments that anybody has within the media, those can all come in here. Next tab there, approval. This is really cool where, yeah, just click the down arrow there. The cool thing about this one is Emily, from this asset in eMAM, she could actually click and turn and actually run a review and approve process without having to get out of Premiere, going over to eMAM, and then doing the approval from there. I'm gonna do the approval on my end, but the idea is that the editor, once they've done a sequence, it's been uploaded into the eMAM system, they go back and find it, click on it, and then start the review process and say, hey, Chuck, you know, can you review this? I'll get an email, click on it, open it up, and then add my comments there as well. Those are both internal users, and then the one below there is actually for clients outside of eMAM. So you can actually give somebody temporary access to that proxy and then allow them to do a general comment there as well. And then last tab there, real quick, file versions. This is actually where I can add multiple versions of a sequence or an asset. So you could have, in some cases, multiple versions of an asset, and then somebody go and say, hey, I want the third version, not the fourth version. So they could actually click on the third version and import that version there as well. Okay, go ahead and close that X. And then, so now that the sequence is done, we're gonna go and actually, oh, one other thing we wanna show is the AI side. So if you remember, I was using Pegasus. You can go ahead and hit generate there. I was using Pegasus to find those in and out points for subclips, okay? Well, the editor actually has the same technology built into the panel. So they could actually go in and say, hey, you know what, of this video, give me the highlights. And they could actually click on that and maybe even type in a phrase there and say, hey, I'm looking for countryside shots. I'm looking for people drinking wine. And so the AI service will actually give them then cuts. They could actually play it, or they could actually click on where it's subclip and actually drop it right into the timeline that quickly. So it's quite unique here, quite interesting that someone could also use AI within the panel there as well. Okay, let's go to project 03 tab. Now, so again, this is now where we're going to put the project back up into the eMAM system and check it back in. Okay, and that's really, really important that you're checking out and you're checking back in, because then we know all the different versions, all the different times somebody checked it out. We've got your name tag to it and all that kind of good stuff. So hit the export button. And in this case here, you add notes. So Emily would just add a note, adding graphics or whatever it might be. And so with that, she clicks OK. Now we've got some choices here. So the first one would be select files. And so this is where it's actually going to upload the project file, and now Premiere has an XML file next to it. And so those are definitely going to go up into the eMAM system, and they're now going to be a copy of what's been on your local system. It's now checked back into the eMAM system. If Emily had uploaded anything from the local drive, that would also show up here, and then you have an option to select that to upload. Also, those who use Mogerts, there's a graphic file that you produce when you use a Mogert within the timeline. Don't upload the Mogerts, but upload the graphic file that shows up with that. We can help you out on that workflow. It's just kind of the way the panel works and so on. Okay, select sequence. So at this point, she can go in and we'll do this. Go ahead and select a format like H264 or something. Yeah, there you go. Okay, and match source. So what we could do now is we could create a proxy or an original of that sequence, but we're going to use the media encoder to do that. We're not going to watch paint dry, but go ahead and leave it that it's going to process there. Now click on the next one. So all the other media that's being uploaded, now the sequence has to go through media encoder. But if you look at the assets that may be uploading and you want to create a proxy that's going to go into the eMAM system so we can preview it within the director, I could either use a server or I could use the local media encoder there as well. Okay, click on project details. This is where you would add those notes. That's what Emily had just done. If you wanted to give a description of the project, you can do so there as well. Click on categories. Now, categories should already be selected. So if you go down to right there, whoops, past it, right in the middle, you'll see that then this is already assigned, and it's assigned to the Premiere project category. So the project file and the sequence will go in that location. If you were to upload the After Effects, we would definitely recommend putting it in, say, an After Effects category, and then the After Effects and the graphics and so on you produce will go into that category there as well. And then lastly, tags. These again are personal tags or global tags that you can add, and then metadata on the last one. And so these are all the custom metadata. And go to asset details. It says the set at the top there, at the top of that one.
Asset details. Asset. Oh, right.
Yeah, and then select eMAM travel in the middle there.
Okay.
Go. So these are the metadata fields that I selected and just, put together just for the demo and so on. Okay, one other button that's there. Remember, we localized the proxy files in this case here for the demo. If you want, and you can do this, if I select that button there, when I do the add back up to the eMAM system, it will delete all of the local media files that I downloaded from the eMAM system, which keeps you from stacking up all this media you're downloading. So it'll clean off your drive. So hit the add button. And okay, so we couldn't find the media encoder. Okay, anyways, so at that point, normally what would happen is the media encoder then would take over. It would create the sequence, it would create the proxy for that sequence, and then we would upload then that project file back up to the eMAM system. So go up to sequences, Emily. Select sequences and deselect that. Yeah, just deselect and hit the add button. Oh boy. Yeah, it's your media encoder is not connected to it. I'm sorry. All right. So what we'll do is we'll go back over to my system here. Normally what would happen is the media encoder would take over. It would start creating the sequence and then add those as new assets to the system here. So I'm going to switch back over. Change presenter to moi. There we go. God, I love the technology and the demos. There we go. Alrighty then. Okay, so what normally would happen, we did this yesterday with during the testing. So we had like a project file that was created. So originally it was an eMAM project. It became a project 002, Tour of Italy here. It had all the media associated with it. It had also a sequence that was associated. And this is the amount of times that it was actually checked out. So we can go back and look at the history of each one of these projects and so on, and that the sequences were created with the different tours and so on. So I can actually go in and look at all the different project files and so on from there. If I go back and say, go look at this search filter, I can actually look back at that 002. So let's go do that. All right, we'll change this to 002. And search. So if I click on that media, this is the sequence that may have been created here. Let's see. Let me clear that quick. And we'll look at, we'll go project 2. We'll improvise here. And project 2. And typically what it would be is that the media, then the graphics, everything that Emily had put together for us, those would have shown up in here. And then the so this would be the file that she produced and so on, and it's now ready for review at this point. So all of the different cuts and various things that we would want to do, we would go ahead and send that out for not delivery, but also do the review and approve process. So what I've done is actually created a approval layout. And so what I can do here is go in this MP4 here. Let me make sure it's the right one. And so with that then, there it is right there. So I can then go in and choose this eMAM user and send out an approval process. And so let's see, I'm gonna have to go into some personal email here. We'll click on that. Here's the request. And so when I log in, I'm going to log in as that user. So I get an email, and with that email, then I'm able to log in. It's going to ask me now to go ahead and approve this asset. So I can go in and look at the asset, preview the asset, and then turn the sound down. It's going to pop open. I can generally make a comment here. I could add a comment that's based on a time code. So if I get to a certain time code, I can get to that spot, be able to then right here and then add a comment like fix image. All right, and then post that. So all of these comments start coming in and are added then to the review and approve process. Now I can make a general comment here as well. And then I have an option to kind of pass this on to say Emily or anybody else on the team and then forward with my remarks there as well. and then hit the submit button. So once all of that is done, all of the comments and various things would come in, all the different markers and so on would basically come in. And so if I have the comments tab open here, bring that over, I can then see that comment and every other comment that does come in on that particular asset. Okay, so that's the review and approve process. Again, you get an email, the user clicks on it, gets the request, they click on it, it goes right to that asset, they log in, it goes right to the asset, they add their comments, they add their time code based comments. You can also add markers and so on. And then we also have annotations as well. So when you do make that comment and so on, you want to fix the image or the logo or something, you can actually go in and then draw on the screen there as well. Okay. All right. And then lastly, like if you are going to go ahead and share the media as well, we do have options where you can kind of go in. I can go in and then share that. Let me go back. I'm going to log back in as me. Get all access to all of that. There we go. And there I am. There we go. And log in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that review and approve, but then I'm going to go right to delivery. And this is where we can actually go in and then share that media. So with the media, then I can take this, click on it, add it to there. I can go in and add other items as well if I'd like. And then actually, this could be documents, PowerPoints, PDFs, whatever they might be. And then get to go to meeting out of the way. I can then go in and then share this with anybody. So internally or externally. If it's internal, I can click on login here. They have other options for adding markers and subclips and various things. I can create an overlay on top of that there as well. But I can share then any of this media with someone, give it a title that will be at the top part here. And then be able to create a link, but I also have the ability to limit that link. Okay, so I could put a date and a time on it and how many times they could watch it. So that's also possible there as well. And so what happens then is they click on the link in the email you send them. They're able to go in and preview that media, look at the images, or you could have a rundown basically, because it's in that order of how we share it there as well. And then of course, also you can give them the option to download if you'd like. And then also there's options for sharing as well. If you give them that option, you can watch captions here as well if there were captions. And then of course sound, and then you could, depending on, and by the way, the quality of the proxy can be determined by you as well. So that's also possible. And then they can quickly just click on an image if they want to look at the image and so on. Okay. And then lastly, delivery-wise, and go to meeting, you're in the way again. There we go. Delivery-wise, we can basically deliver to any prepackaged format using any type of transcoder and so on. That's all possible as well, but those are all set up by the admins. And then lastly, we can then take this entire project and then go ahead and archive that project as well. So what we can do is actually say go by the category. I go in and look for, say, project 3. There it is. Click on that. And then with this project, I can just go ahead and hit the archive button or restore button. So at that point, it'll take the media along with the project files, everything, and then put it up into the LTO. And then at any one point in time, either through the panel or directly through the interface here for director, I can then restore that. Okay. So I did promise you a look at Avid, so we can go ahead and quickly look over at the Avid side. Again, you have the same capabilities within the panel to log in, preview content, and so on, grab content. We have options here for Avid right now that we're linking with the media or importing the media. So linking the media just takes the existing format that it's in. Importing would actually transcode it and convert it to a format that you prefer, the editor prefers. If the media is not local, it will actually then download that media automatically. And what we do in this case here is when you're done with your sequence, you physically actually drag that onto what we call eFeeder, and then upload the media to eMAM through the eFeeder application. So you do have full search capabilities here with this. There is a previous webinar that we have that we can show that to you there as well. Okay. And then DaVinci, let's go here. With DaVinci, there. So DaVinci also has a panel. And as I mentioned in the beginning, DaVinci does have project management there as well. Okay. Apologize about some of the issues with some of the demo there, but again, that flow back and forth with media encoder and so on, all being connected within the eMAM system, making sure everything's all set up and properly working. We can easily share media, share projects, and so on. And by the way, when you do check out projects and so on, you don't have to check them out. You could actually just import the project and then create your own and save it as a different name and then put it back up in the eMAM system as a different name as well. But again, we do keep track of all those versions there. All right, after about an hour.
Thanks a lot, Chuck. Yes, so please, if you have any more questions, please put them in the question box. And we'd be happy to give you also a one-on-one demo of how some of this works. So getting the panels, you're going to get them. So once you're an authorized eMAM user, inside the director web interface, there's an option to get the panel. So we can run you through that. So and there was a question on FCP. So we haven't tested for a while, but we did an integration and a partnership with them. So we could work with you to test and see how it works nowadays. Avid, as we mentioned, is a newer integration, and they're continuing to extend their APIs with their newer releases. So we'll continue to work closely with Avid to kind of strengthen how that workflow and the options with the workflow. Trying to quickly answer all the questions, but if you have more, please put them in the chat. In terms of go-to-market, we're flexible, so there's perpetual, there's one-year licenses, there's SaaS and PaaS options. You can see that on our websites. And also on our website is our regional system integrator partners, so you can go and find them very easily. Someone who can help you in a local market, setting up hardware, et cetera, et cetera. And there's our technology partners. So we've tested with all these systems and be happy to, work together to set up any of these or test some others. And I think, wow, right at the end of the time, I think we've answered all the questions. And let us know if you would like a copy of the PowerPoint presentation or the recording. If not, yeah, let us know. Happy to have you look at, test the system, see you at the upcoming trade shows. But for now, thanks for your interest and, have a great day.